Welcome to our garage, where we're going to talk to you about our new EP, What's Left of the Lizard.
Lizard.
We're metal.
First, let's pour ourselves a drink. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies first.
Oh. Could have 3 different flavors. So instead we just made our own.
And also with you.
She is.
It's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Here you are with us, the 3 of the 4 members of Metal. My name is Megan Rice. I sing. Scott is Scott.
Sorry.
I'm waiting for him to introduce himself.
Oh, I was pretending I was mute for a minute.
Oh.
Yes, I'm Scott Gossett. I play guitar. No relation to... Oh, fuck.
Anyway.
I'm Zach Zad. I play bass.
And there is a drummer, but not here.
Why did we decide to name the EP What's Left of the Lizard, Scott?
Yeah, Scott.
Well, a long time ago there was a lizard, and he's not alive anymore because my dog killed it. Lux, she likes to kill lizards, and she likes to hang them out to send a message to the rest of the lizards, apparently, and they all get dried up in a hole and flattened, where she wears them as pelts. One time Megan found one of these pelted lizards, and she showed it to me and goes, "Oh, do you see this? Like, look what Lux did." She goes, "This is the lizard, or what's left of it." And so we decided that we were gonna name our second album, What's Left of the Lizard. But we had not made a first album yet, so we were just leaving our options open.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we also were not in a band.
Not at the time.
Not at the time.
We knew.
But I knew if I ever made an album, the second one would be called What's Left of the Lizard. It's much more ominous sounding without the ridiculous explanation about lizard pelts, and you can always just pretend you didn't hear it and make up your own meaning. So, if you joined us for the seminars on 27 Ghosts, you will notice a continuity change in that the redhead to my right is a different redhead than the one previously. So Zach Sight is our new bass player. He did play on this EP. He has joined us as a blood fellow.
No, that's the word that I use before I go to sleep at night.
Exactly, blood fellow. So Zachary, why don't you tell the people a little about yourself and what you as a musician would like to be referred to from here on out.
One day we came up with this nickname for myself, or stage name rather, called Dumb Bass, because I have ears like Dumbo and I play the bass. Just thought it was stupid and funny, but then we realized about like 6 hours later that it just spells dumbass. It actually just makes it better. So now you can all call me Dumb Bass if you would like. People do that at Stater Brothers all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, Dumb Bass," and I'm like, "Hi." You know, it's wildly popular.
Only place we're known is at our local Stater Brothers.
It's like a brotherhood.
Yeah, just like a brotherhood.
Just like one.
Some strange blood fellows. Just for the record, I don't know what blood fellow is, and I'm also not going to look it up after this. I'm going to stay in awe and mystery.
I'm a blood fellow.
All right, day 1, song 1, Cry. That is the first song on our new EP. Yeah, this is his
We
second.
got a lash over here.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it coming.
Cool. Doesn't look like it's going to be coming for long.
I
God damn it. Okay, so
know. This-
as Megan just said, day 1 is Cry. This is the first song on the CD. I wanted to put this song first because I felt like it had the most like upbeat energy to kind of give people an introduction into, it's not really a new sound that we have on this CD, but we feel like it's a little bit more raw, like a classic rock recording. Like back, you know, when Led Zeppelin used to record albums, they'd either record all together and then do overdubs, but there was never all this cut and paste that happens today. So what we did was we just recorded all of our parts and like still did overdubs, but we made sure that we weren't cutting and editing anything together. And I felt like this song was the perfect introduction into feeling like there was like a real kind of like a visceral energy leading into what you guys were going to expect. The guitar intro is kind of how I started out this song. The riff sounds kind of like this guitar thing that's like blowing in the wind. It's got this like harmonic reverb on it and stuff. I feel like it's creepy and it just kind of sets the tone for everything we were trying to do.
Exactly, and definitely Cry is a good example of the direction that we wanted to go sound-wise with this next EP, which was, again, a little more aggressive, a little more rock. What we feel like is our natural tone, what you would expect to hear at our shows. The first EP, although we loved it, we felt was a little cleaner and a more polished version of what we feel like we sound like when we're actually playing, and a little more experimental with the sounds. We definitely used a lot more textures and we're a little more loose with kind of the different tones and sounds, like guitar sounds and stuff like that that we wanted to try, and we weren't limiting ourselves like we did on the first EP, I would say.
What is this song about?
Cry, for me, when I was writing it, was a song about, let me think, because this Mad Dog is not helping.
Is this
What are these overtones?
a sugar alcohol bling?
Yeah.
It smells like a 2019.
No, Cry is about pretty much feeling lost and wanting to have a form of connection, and Cry in the Dark is the main line of the chorus, and pretty much what I'm suggesting is that, you know, lost souls, people who feel like inability to connect or feel alienated, more or less, you know, are crying out and hopefully waiting to hear somebody cry back to them. So that's pretty much what I wrote, just a lonely, sad person crying into the night.
One of the coolest parts that came together more in the recording than it really did when we were, you know, in pre-production and writing the song was the bridge. It kind of just started out with this basic arpeggiated thing, and I use a Digitech Freakout pedal for anybody who plays guitar. I was kind of trying to get these weird kind of random skipping feedback notes, and we still did that, but we realized that if we just, like, you know, cranked everything to 10 and just cranked up the feedback pedal, we could do something really cool. It's like this overarching, like menacing, like, I guess you could call it like an extra melody, but it's only put down on whole notes, so it's like dun.
It's kind of like a
dun. Yeah, and like in the end, as we just like let it rip right back into the chorus, it ended up sounding kind of more like something like Tool would do, without the song really having like that over like Tool type of vibe.
Right.
What did you think of your bass part?
Well, I remember that weekend when we were kind of working on that, Scott did show me the arpeggio and stuff, and found the root notes, and he just said, I want you to make it the spookiest, hottest bass line you possibly can make.
That weekend changed my life.
Yes, and it changed mine, and hopefully yours forever, as you become spooked and aroused.
Simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
That's beautiful. But back to more important matters. This song is probably the one that I feel like was changed the most by our producer, Sean Gould. I was trying to do something in the chorus that he said didn't really work, and now that we did something else, I kind of agree with him. Like most people who are listening to this probably aren't like into music theory, but I was kind of trying to start on a weird chord just to make it different. And he said, no, like what we need to do is keep this song like more straightforward and rocking. So we just started like right on the root, and it ended up sounding freaking killer. He like definitely made like a really good call on that one.
Yep, definitely. It was a lot more back and forth in the studio with Sean, with our producer, and he had a lot of creative, awesome input, and it ended up making not a whole lot of changes, but the changes that he did make and the ones he suggested were great, and I really do feel like they pulled the songs together nicely.
It's really good. There's a funky little spooky bass thing. Then Scott has this screamy guitar thing. And there's at the end.
Oh yeah, because it's solo.
That's lovely.
Yeah, and it sounds just like I did it. You actually don't need to listen to the song anymore.
No.
So
pretty much this description has made it so that you don't even have to listen to the song because you pretty much get it from this wonderful description of the song.
Now go turn off the lights and cry in the dark.
Oh no.
You heard it. I said it.
it's bedtime, everybody.
Yep. Good night. He's dedicated.